swiftly, yet every nuance etched into my mind for eternity. I pushed open his door without a sound, believing him to be lost in slumber. But what I encountered before me made me halt in my tracks. My Stepson lay sprawled on the bed, legs apart, his hand wrapped around the largest thing I had ever encountered. It pulsed beneath his fingers, dense and substantial, clearly exceeding 16 inches. I ought to have walked away, though I had the chance to close the door and step away. I chose to linger instead. Something deeper and more ravenous within me awakened. My heart raced. My breath was momentarily stilled. I drew nearer. Entranced. He gazed up at me, a mischievous smirk playing on his lips. In silence, he beckoned me closer, and the weight to shame dissolved into warmth. My fingers quivered with anticipation as I extended my hand toward him. He let out a low groan as I encircled him with my hand, grappling to hold on to every part of him. It was overwhelming for merely his hands to bear. Assistance was essential for him. In that tangled, illicit instant, I extended my own. Before we embark on this journey, I must take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you who has chosen to join me on this adventure. Your support is everything to me. Do not forget to weave your thoughts into the tapestry of comments below and engage with the tale we share. I am eager to know your thoughts as the narrative progresses. Allow me to guide you further into the night that forever altered the course of my existence. Once upon a time, I was a name, and that name was Melissa. In the serene suburbs of Wisconsin, a 36-year-old housewife weaves her daily life into a tapestry of moments and memories. On the surface, my life seemed flawless. A cozy abode, a diligent partner, and the Stepson on the brink of graduation. My husband David embarked on frequent journeys for work, leaving me to navigate the quiet of the nights alone. In the quiet moments, I'd busied myself with cleaning, baking, and tending to the garden, seeking to ward off the solitude that lingered around me. When David took my hand in marriage 3 years ago, I believed I had finally discovered a sense of stability. Yet, beneath the facade, our union was frigid and rigid. In the midst of it all stood Ethan, a 19-year-old with a striking tall frame and golden locks, his physique sculpted through relentless dedication at the gym. He embodied the untamed essence that his father sought to rein in. Our conversations were limited to mere pleasantries, until that fateful night. At first, the night unfolded like any other. The rain danced upon the windows, while the air was filled with the sweet aroma of vanilla candles. As the evening unfolded, I found myself nestled on the couch, lost in the pages of a novel, attempting to ward off the familiar pang of loneliness that threatened to seep in once more. David reached out to share the news of his flight delay. He would not return until the morrow. I chose to ascend the stairs ahead of time. As I wandered by Ethan's door, an unusual sound caught my attention. A soft, haunting lament echoed through the air. A shiver of unease danced along my spine. Did he suffer any pain? I swung the door wide, my mind a blank canvas. And there he stood, waiting. Ethan lay across the bed, his body relaxed yet taut, fingers gliding over an impressive form that seemed to challenge the very laws of nature. My breath caught in my throat. My mouth felt parched. I yearned to flee, to seek refuge. Yet I remained still, captivated. He laid his eyes upon me. He pressed on, unwavering, his blue eyes locked onto mine, a challenge glimmering within them, playfully provoking me. A warmth surged through me, igniting a fire that spread between my legs, a feeling so intense it left me spinning. "Come here," he murmured, his voice heavy and gravelly. I ought to have escaped. Instead, my bare feet glided toward him, as if drawn by an unseen thread. With each step, my heart raced with fervor. I perched on the edge of his bed, my fingers quivering as they lingered just above him. "Allow me to assist you," I whispered, my voice barely rising above a hush. I encircled my hand around his form. The warmth of him scorched my flesh. He let out a sharp breath through clenched teeth as my thumb grazed the tender underside. Its magnitude demanded both my hands, as I gently glided up and down, savoring the sensation of every vein, every pulse. The chamber whirled with the exhilarating allure of it all. His breaths became more labored. He bit his lip, his hips rising to meet my touch. Before I fully grasped my actions, I found myself leaning down, gently pressing a kiss to the swollen head. He let out a low groan, his hands weaving through my hair, leading me onward. I ought to have experienced a sense of shame. I ought to have been burdened by guilt. All I felt was an insatiable, searing hunger. I delved into his essence, savored his being, and became entwined within him. His aroma enveloped me, his whispers danced in the air, and his immense presence left me in awe. My body reacted unabashedly, yearning, pleading for more. As he finally let go with a deep, guttural growl, I eagerly consumed every drop, hungrily accepting all that he offered. I drew back gently, brushing my lips, my heart racing wildly within my chest. Ethan's eyes shimmered with a shadowy intensity, brimming with an unsettling sense of ownership. That was merely the start, he murmured, his tone deep and foreboding. In that moment, I realized there was no way to go back. A threshold had been crossed, and the world would never return to its former state. The morning sun poured through the windows, warm and bright, yet all I could feel was a chilling dread seeping deep into my bones. As I lay in bed, solitude enveloped me, the sheets twisted around my legs, my body still bearing the echoes of the previous night's adventures. I gazed at the ceiling, attempting to convince myself it had all been a fever dream, a dreadful and shameful fantasy that could be left behind with the dawn of a new day. Yet, it had truly happened. Each caress, each whisper, each fleeting breath shared in our closeness. It had transpired, and there was no turning back. I drew the covers tightly around me, hoping to vanish into the shadows. How could I ever meet Ethan's gaze again? How could I confront David when he returned home tonight, burdened by this repulsive secret etched upon my very being? I lingered in bed longer than I typically would, only mustering the strength to rise when the house fell into a hush that assured me Ethan had stepped out. I had to steer clear of him. I sought to erase the memories. I stood beneath the cascade of hot water, scrubbing my skin with fervor. Yet the memories clung to me like a second skin, refusing to let go. The way Ethan had called my name, the way his hands had tangled in my hair, both commanding and yearning, the way I had craved it just as fiercely, perhaps even more. Tears threatened to spill from my eyes, but I held them back resolutely. With a swift motion, I slipped into a cozy sweater and a pair of jeans, gathering my hair into a carefree bun atop my head. I would prepare breakfast, occupy my time, and by the moment David came back, all would return to its usual rhythm. Also, I spun the tale to myself. As I entered the kitchen, I came to an abrupt halt. Ethan lounged at the counter, bare-chested, with a bowl of cereal awaiting his attention. His skin shimmered like gold in the morning light, muscles undulating with each effortless motion. His hair, damp from a recent shower, was messy and had a youthful charm. Yet the intensity of his gaze held a depth that was anything but youthful. His gaze captured mine, moving slowly and purposefully, tracing the contours of my form with a languid confidence. My face ignited with a fiery heat. I averted my eyes and occupied myself with the fridge, feigning a search for something elusive. "Morning, Melissa," he said, his voice laced with a playful charm. I offered a quiet greeting, my back turned away from him. With a quiver in my hands, I reached for a carton of eggs. "You look different today," he remarked, a playful lilt in his voice, with a sense of ease and a hint of warmth. I shut the fridge door with a force that felt a touch excessive. "Eat your breakfast," I urged, my tone more cutting than I had meant it to be. He let out a soft chuckle, the sound weaving through the air and sending shivers racing down my spine. With a soft whisper, he expressed his thoughts. As I clumsily handled the eggs, 2 of them met their fate, cracking open in the pan with a soft splatter. I focused intently on the stove, silently urging him to step away, to grant me a moment of solitude. Yet instead, I sensed him drawing nearer. His presence hovered behind me, charged with an unsettling energy, both thrilling and perilous. You need not wear a mask, Melissa, he murmured, his voice now gentle, almost as if sharing a secret. I can sense that it brought you joy. I let the spatula slip from my grasp, my hands tightening into fists. Stop, I urged, my voice quivering with emotion. Let it remain unspoken. It was a misstep on the journey. I pivoted to confront him, ready to establish my stance, to reaffirm the limits we had broken. Yet, when our gazes intertwined, my determination shattered. In his eyes, there lingered not a trace of regret, nor a hint of shame, only an intense, searing hunger burned brightly. You desire it once more, he murmured, drawing nearer, his fingers lightly grazing my hip. I inhaled sharply, the touch igniting a blaze within my senses. I loathed the way my body surrendered so effortlessly, leaning into him, yearning for him. No, I murmured, the sound barely escaping my lips, and even to my own ears. It felt feeble. With a sly grin, he reveled in the sweet taste of victory. He pushed me against the counter, his hands gliding beneath my sweater, fingers playfully exploring the delicate skin of my waist. I let out a soft whimper, my body instinctively arching against him. You belong to me now, he declared, his voice gravelly with a fierce longing. Last night, Melissa, you ventured into uncharted territory. The path ahead is set, and there's no turning back now. I shook my head, tears brimming in my eyes. Yet when he kissed me, all my objections faded away. His mouth was a force of nature, consuming, claiming every breath from my lungs. His hands explored with an unsettling familiarity, discovering the contours of my body in a way that sent shivers down my spine. I melted against him, my hands weaving through his damp hair, drawing him nearer, craving him like I had never craved anything before. He raised me onto the counter with ease, parting my legs and positioning himself between them. I sighed softly against his lips, my fingers gripping his bare shoulders with urgency. The kitchen resonated with the echoes of our fervent kisses, our uneven breaths, and the gentle rhythm of skin meeting skin. I had never experienced such vitality, such desire, such a complete surrender to the moment. As he entered me, moving with a deliberate slowness that sent waves of sensation coursing through me, I gasped, my head tilting back in response to the overwhelming intensity. He opened my eyes in ways David never had, uncovering depths I never knew were there. Ethan surged forward, embodying the wild spirit of his youthful days. Every thrust reverberated, sending ripples through my very being. I held on to him tightly, surrendering to the surging tides of ecstasy, becoming utterly lost in the moment. The counter shook beneath us. Dishes crashed to the ground, echoing in the recesses of my thoughts. I understood this was madness, perilous. Yet, I felt indifferent. Nothing else held significance except for the way he stirred my emotions. As we finally sank against one another, breathless and trembling, the chaos of the kitchen swirling around us, a chilling realization dawned upon me, something far more frightening than the act we had just committed. I felt no regret, not even a hint, and that frightened me more than anything else. The house lay in stillness as David stepped through the door that evening. I observed him from the kitchen doorway, my heart pounding fiercely within my chest. His smile lit up the room as he caught sight of me, weariness etched on his face yet joy radiating from his being. He placed his briefcase down with a gentle thud and welcomed me into his embrace. Arms wide open, I paused for a fleeting moment, teetering on the edge of decision. Before embracing his elegance, he embraced me with warmth, planting a gentle kiss on the side of my head, whispering sweetly about how deeply he had missed me. I willed a smile to grace my lips, nodded in agreement, and offered my responses. Yet within me, it felt as though I was sinking beneath the waves. His scent, his touch, everything about him now felt like a distant land, marked by the hidden truth I bore within me. Ethan observed from the staircase, his gaze deep and enigmatic. In that brief moment, our gazes intertwined, and a whirlwind of emotion stirred within me, tightening my stomach into 1,000 knots. I swiftly distanced myself from David, feigning an engrossment in the meal before me. In that moment, I craved a sanctuary, a quiet place to gather my thoughts. The evening meal felt like an ordeal. David regaled everyone with tales of his trip, completely unaware of the heavy, stifling tension that enveloped the room. I nodded and laughed at the right moments, yet the flavors of the food eluded my senses. Ethan sat across from me, his foot teasingly brushing against mine under the table, a mischievous smirk dancing on his lips. I recalled, sending my glass of wine tumbling to the floor. David leapt to assist, worrying etched on his face, while I mumbled my regrets, feigning my clumsiness. Yet, within me, a storm of panic raged. Another night like this would be my undoing. Once the meal had concluded, David politely took his leave to indulge in a refreshing shower. As soon as he vanished up the stairs, Ethan seized the opportunity, pinning me against the wall in the hallway, his presence enveloping me. "I want you again," he whispered against my ear, his hand sliding up my thigh. I pushed him aside, a whirlwind of fear and guilt churning within me. "Cease this at once," I whispered fiercely. "He is upstairs." "This feels off." It was already off. Ethan chuckled gently, a subtle, teasing sound. "You adore it," he remarked. "You thrive on the peril. You relish the way I ignite your very essence." My eyes stung with tears, a deep loathing for him coursing through me. Yet, an even greater disdain for myself lingered in the shadows. "You are but a child," I exclaimed, "nothing more than a foolish, reckless boy." His expression shifted, the light-hearted bravado disappearing in a heartbeat. "You didn't think I was a bore and you were calling my name in the kitchen," he said with a voice that pierced like ice. I struck him before I even realized what I had done. The crack reverberated through the hall. His fingers brushed against his cheek, and then a slow, perilous smile spread across his face. "You will return to me," he stated with an air of certainty. "You cannot help but yield." He spun around and vanished into the living room, leaving me quaking against the wall. With a hesitant step, I made my way upstairs, securing the bathroom door behind me. I fell to the ground, tears streaming down my face, consumed by the weight of my actions. What had I done? What sort of woman had I transformed into? I gazed into the mirror, my reflection revealing a face as pale as a ghost, haunted by shadows of regret. With eyes swollen from the weight of guilt, I found myself gazing into the eyes of a stranger, a woman I could not recognize. As the days slipped into weeks, an unbearable tension settled over the house, thickening the air with unspoken words and heavy hearts. Ethan persisted in his teasing, reaching out to me when David's gaze was elsewhere, murmuring tantalizing promises that dripped with temptation. In the silence where no one else could listen, my body revealed secrets every single time. I loathed him for it, but my disdain for myself ran even deeper. David sensed the gap between us. He made attempts to connect, to bridge that chasm. Yet I consistently turned him away. Time after time, I found myself breaking beneath the burden of my hidden truth, yet I lacked the courage to reveal it. As the clock ticked on, the night unfolded, leading to the moment when everything came crashing down. David ventured out for drinks with a few of his colleagues in the solitude of my home. I found myself nestled on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, attempting to immerse in a movie, yearning for a sense of normalcy. Ethan stood in the doorway, bare-chested, clad only in a pair of low-slung sweatpants. I stood still, my heart pounding fiercely within my chest. He remained silent, merely gazing at me, his eyes ablaze with desire. And like a moth drawn to the flame, I found myself consumed by him. With 3 purposeful strides, he traversed the room, swiftly yanked the blanket away, and enveloped me in his embrace. His lips descended upon mine, and I surrendered completely in that moment. Our journey didn't lead us to the bedroom. Right there on the couch, he seized me once more, with a fervor that was both wild and urgent, asserting his claim over me as if I were his to possess. I scarcely noticed the front door creak open. I hardly caught David's voice calling my name. Yet Ethan was attuned to it all. He withdrew from my presence just as David stepped into the living room. For a fleeting instant, time seemed to freeze as David gazed upon us, his expression a vivid tableau of shock and horror. He surveyed my untidy attire, the remorse etched across my features, and the unrefined pleasure lingering in Ethan's grin, grasping Dawn's situation gradually. With a heavy heart, David staggered back a step, as though he had been hit by an unseen force. "Melissa," he murmured, his voice trembling as tears cascaded down my cheeks. I attempted to find the right words, to articulate my thoughts, yet nothing seemed adequate. No justifications could possibly undo my actions. With a swift motion, David spun on his heels and dashed from the house, the door crashing shut in his wake. As I fell to the ground, waves of sorrow engulfed me, my body trembling with the weight of my despair. Tears flowing freely, Ethan loomed above me, his expression a mystery. "This was inevitable," he murmured softly. "You just never wanted to face the truth." With a voice raised in urgency, I urged him to leave, and he departed in silence, not uttering a single word. As I lingered on the living room floor, the dawn broke, casting light on my solitude, my remorse, and the fragmented remnants of my existence. David never returned. I lost him. I lost everything, and it was all my doing.